What's up, everyone? We're here in my studio in San Antonio. Welcome to Talking Sheik. We talk a whole bunch of Sheik with my colleagues and friends. Dude, today's going to be freaking awesome. I got a very special guest, one of my good friends for the past 14 years, massively successful, okay? This guy's put out 7 records. He's toured all around the world, millions and millions of streams. And I have Ruben Alvarez from the San Antonio Legends Upon a Burning Body. Dude, thanks for coming and spending some time with me, man. I appreciate it.
Dude, it's my pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Like you said, we've been friends for so long. It's fun. It's fun to get here and talk. It's just easy.
Yeah, bro. You know, we've done a lot of stuff together. We've written music together. We've been on the road together, performed together. God, I don't know how many times. And dude, there's been some questions over the years that I've had that I've just never had the chance to ask you. So I think what a better time to do it than now.
Perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
So one of the questions I had was like, when did you start to get into music? Like, was it at a young age? Were you older, or when
Yes.
did you first start?
So I started getting into music probably around 13 because my dad was a musician, so he played bass, played the Hano my whole life, you know. So I was hearing that all through my early years, and then when I hit 13, I finally got my first bass. And I started jamming some punk rock shit with our neighbors. So my dad's godson played drums, and then his neighbor played guitar, and we it's so crazy because he had this shed in the back that was just full of shit, like all the way to the roof, literally full of shit. And he told his dad, he's like, I wanna start playing drums. Like everybody in his family also played music, the Hano, and he's like, I want to play drums. And he's like, well, if you guys clear out that shed, I'll redo it for you with sheetrock and everything, and you guys can have it as your jam room. One weekend we just went in there and we cleared it out, and there was all sorts of shit. We're all young, just throwing out concrete and just trash, and cleared it all out, redid it, and then we just started jamming from there. And after that, it was I fell in love.
Man. So was that the first time like you really got serious about guitar, or were you like already serious about it before that?
No. It's just discovery phase, you know.
Yeah.
And I started playing bass, and at that time we were pretty broke, so all I had was a radio in my room and a cassette. So I would just record songs off of Kiss and just have my little bass amp with my bass, and I started learning, and all through ear. You know, I'm not a classically trained musician. I don't know any scales, or you barely know my notes and scales and stuff. So it's just it was just a discovery, like of falling in love with just learning and playing bass first. You
Yeah.
know, I didn't jump on guitar till way later, and then I went to middle school, and I joined up with my homie Joe, who showed me like classic metal, like Iron Maiden,
Yeah.
Judas Priest. And I just fell in love with that, and I got really good at bass because obviously Maiden is super legit. So I got really good at bass, and then it just took off from there, man. I started joining bands left and right at a young age too. I was always with the older band. Like my first band was a radio rock band, and they were all like in their 20s, and I was like 16, sneaking in the bars, and you know they would let me in obviously because I was a talent, but they're like, you got to get out as soon as you're done. Like, get the fuck out of here.
You said something like really, really key there. You said like when I first started learning, I just had a radio and a cassette, and I was just learning songs off of Kiss. I think that's the best way to learn.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And going back to what you said about how you don't really know scales, you don't really know theory and notes. Some of the best musicians in the world have no idea about theories and notes,
just
and it's
feel.
amazing.
It's just feel, man. Yeah, it's
I
your soul.
know.
You know, it's your soul coming out through those instruments. So yeah, that's the way I've always played, is just feeling and just knowing, like ear training, you know, stuff like that.
So, your first experiences, you know, playing in bands. Did you guys play any shows at all, or was it just like a jam band?
No, we played shows. Yeah, we opened up in my first band. We opened up for Girls in a Coma. They're like,
Oh yeah,
like
yeah.
when they were first starting, you know, and we would play bars all around, and yeah, we're getting out there. We played this place called the Underground. That's where I met Mike Teresas, who went on to do amazing things as well in the music industry, and so yeah, I was just young already playing shows, and you know, even with my old friend Joe. We could never find a singer to sing Maiden and like all these Judas Priest songs, but we would go and play instrumental for like bikers and just random like gigs. So I was performing at a real young age, and I fell in love with that feeling of just being on stage too. Like that was a whole nother thing. Like not only did I fall in love with learning how to play and writing music and all that, but then getting on stage was just like, holy shit, this is a feeling, like a whole nother feeling, a whole nother experience.
Oh yeah. even on a small scale,
Oh, yeah.
even like public speaking.
Yep.
That feeling like you get when you're like in front of somebody, like maybe even talking about your expertise or like just showcasing your skills. I mean, there's no better feeling than that, man. When did you have that first experience? Was it at the underground?
No, I would say Sin 13 was the first time I felt that because it was like I knew we were playing a legit venue, and I was like, oh, I'd been to shows there, and I was like, oh man, this is real now. Like we're playing a venue, we got booked. We couldn't possibly get paid. I'm like, damn, this is legit. This isn't just playing a backyard for
Yeah.
Theos, and you know what I mean. So I was like, this is so fucking cool. So yeah, we played at Sin 13, and at that time, Angel was, I believe, booking the shows there, and he's an old school bookie. I think he still, or I don't know if he still books shows, but he was just a local guy that would throw badass shows. He brought all the old, like, Black Dollar Murder when they first started, all those,
Oh,
all
yeah,
those,
yeah,
all
yeah.
those bands that we grew up. He was booking those shows, and that was just a whole experience. Yeah.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I remember my experience playing in local and regional bands, and that feeling is just. I can see why people get addicted to it.
Oh
It's just
yeah.
so like it's like a drug
It
almost.
is,
Yeah.
man. It's like riding a roller coaster, or just like I would describe it as that, like that feeling you get. It's just a new discovery. Like it was amazing. Yeah.
So how did Upon a Burning Body actually start? I never ever asked or ever really knew.
Yeah, this is kind of crazy. So, me and Danny, as know, we grew up like we were like half brothers
Hmm.
basically, and after our parents separated, I didn't see him in years. We stopped seeing each other probably when we were like 7, and I didn't see him till he was in high school. We actually ran into each other at a show. I don't remember the show. I want to say it was like Every Time I Die and like Norma Jean or
That's a
some
good one.
shit. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I want to say we just bumped into each other in the crowd, and then we talked after, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm putting together a band. You should just come and check it out." I was like, "Oh, dude, I've been jamming like this whole time. Like I play in a band too." At that time, I was jamming with Chris, and we had started a band in high school and stuff. So
Okay.
it was kind of more like in the metalcore vibe, and
Hmm.
so after that, I went to go check him out, and that was PB playing drums.
Ah, BB.
Yeah, PB was playing
Yeah.
drums, and then he had John Andrew on guitar. And at that time, they were kind of going for like a Bleeding Through vibe, like they
Hmm.
had a keyboardist
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff like that. So, and it was all cool. It was legit. And they had a bass player at that time, Rob, and he basically had two bands. And he at that point, I don't know if the band gave him an ultimatum or he just like felt like he was getting spread too thin, but basically they told him like you got to choose, and he put his eggs in that basket with them. And I was like, well, shit, I might as well play bass. I was like, I'm already here. Like, let me just get in there and start playing bass. So we did that. And then things started getting real serious. We started like writing songs and putting things together. And before you know it, we were playing shows, and they were going, they actually had played a couple shows before I joined. And then we started playing, and it just took off from there.
That's crazy. Because there was like a rumor that Upon was actually a side project.
Yeah, yeah, it was because we all had our other bands, and Danny and Sal and the guys wanted to start something a little more modern because everybody was still in the new metal kind of vibe
Yeah.
and like stuff like that. Me and Chris and his brother and John were all playing metalcore already, but Danny and them were still catching up. Like they kind of had just discovered the sound. They were still on like the Lamb of God, like more mainstream metal.
Yeah.
And then they found metalcore and like that underground vibe, and they're like, okay, this is cool. Like we got to jump on this and kind of start doing this. And this is a new thing. This is a new movement, of underground music. So we kind of went full on in, and Upon was the band that took off,
Yeah.
So after we all got in there, and basically it was like, all the strong members of each band joining together and creating this project, and we all just were so focused on being that type of band that it just freaking took off so fast. Like we started playing shows, and obviously we're very social people, so
Yeah.
like that helped too, that we all had friends from our other bands, and people that supported us. So when we started playing as Upon, everybody would come out, and it was just a big party, and after we would go and hang out with everybody, and it was just crazy experiences. Yeah, for sure.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
So do me a favor before we continue. I probably have a lot of viewers that don't know what metalcore is. How would you describe the type of metalcore that you're describing here?
So metalcore was derived from like the hardcore scene, basically combining hardcore and metal, and it's kind of it was all about breakdowns back then. Like it was your it's not necessarily death metal because death metal just stays fast the whole time.
Yeah.
But then you have these breaks in it that just, and that's where the core, the underground core comes from, and people I don't, it's called hardcore dancing. It's not moshing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure everybody's seen it and they're like, what are these guys doing in the pit? They look like ninjas and they're freaking kicking each other, and that is what it looks like. But the way it was explained to me from Chris and John, because they're the ones who showed me what metalcore was. I was the same way. I was into new metal, Mudvayne and all that stuff, and then they showed me what this type of music was, and I loved it. I was just like, holy shit, this is so intense. And the people were just losing their minds, and they're like, yeah, you get down, but you don't hit anybody. He's like, you just get down in your bubble and you just let all your frustration and everything you've been feeling, you just let it out. And then, if you hit somebody, you just tell them you're sorry, you pick them up, it's all camaraderie. We're all in it together. And so I love that. And every show I would go to, I would see the same people, and we'd all be like just tearing shit up and just having fun and just letting all of our teen angst out at the shows and just freaking going off, and it was just a blast, and yeah, sure, we all would get hit in the face and get bashed up, but it was just so much fun.
Weren't those days like so cool?
Oh yeah.
What years was that? Maybe like
I would say 2005,
5 to
4.
like 10.
Yeah,
5
yeah.
to like 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, shows were the thing.
Oh,
We didn't have social media. We had like MySpace, but like it wasn't like it was today. And like the thing was going out and going to see bands and finding new bands and being a part of the community. And I think that's something that we're missing nowadays. Like people still go to shows, but it's a little different now. Can you agree with that?
yeah. I think for at least for San Antonio, it's a loss of the rabbit. That really was the kind of the turning point, because that was a home for a lot of people. Like people would go there and just hang out and know that you can go watch music, and there was always going to be a band on, and there was always going to be a good time. And I remember so many kids just getting dropped off there. Like if you were going skating, like their parents would just drop them off, and they were watching. At that time it was like Medicine Tongue and Meek and all these old local bands that were tearing shit up, and they were amazing. Like they were so talented, and we've always had talent in this city. So but I think that's what really brought everybody together, and Sin 13 as well. Sin 13 was in the mix until they closed it and it got bought out and all that. But the Rabbit, man, that was home for so many people. Like they'll just go and just hang out there. Rest in peace, Mojo.
Oh, rest in peace, Mojo.
Yeah, legend.
Yeah, he just passed away. If anybody in San Antonio, if you were in the music scene, you knew Mojo.
Yeah.
He was the door guy at the back door at the White Rabbit.
I actually made a post because I was like, it wasn't just in San Antonio. Like everywhere we've been, like if I talked to a band that had been to the Rabbit, immediately they would say like, Mojo, and I was like, fuck yeah, I know
Hell
Mojo.
yeah.
That's our boy. Like of course we know Mojo, and they're like, and that was one thing that bands would always take away from the Rabbit was like, remember seeing him there, because obviously he was always sitting there at that back door, letting them in and out, making sure no weird people got in. And
Rest in peace, man.
Yeah.
That
Legend.
dude was amazing. He was so kind, and he was so good at what he did. Like he knew his role and he did it to the fullest.
Yeah.
And he brought joy to all of the musicians of that era. Man, R.I.P. Mojo.
Yes.
Never forgotten.
Yes.
So for those who don't know what we're talking about when we say the Rabbit, we're talking about a club in San Antonio that was on St. Mary Street. St. Mary Street is kind of the area of San Antonio where we have a lot of bars and clubs. And the White Rabbit was the premier music venue of San Antonio for like heavy metal, pop punk music, anything kind of like rock. It happened at the White Rabbit. And so that was kind of a place where we all went to growing up, and we all enjoyed shows there. And there was like a show there every day almost.
Yeah. It was bumping every day. I think they probably took like one day off a week, but there was always music going through there.
There was something about that place. It was magical, man. It was so different than like other venues. Like when I'd go out of town, go see bands at other places, there was nothing like the Rap. And that room sounded so good. Those old beat up speakers and that old analog
All the
board.
layers of paint. By like 10, 15 layers of paint.
The restrooms were rough though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But nobody gave a shit, right? It's just like,
Nobody gave a fuck.
no.
So when did you start to know that like Upon was really making moves locally and regionally? Or like when did you have that moment like, okay, we have something here?
I think when we started playing to pack houses, and we were opening up for all the big bands, and then we'll travel to different places, and that it started happening everywhere else as well. Like even in small towns like Victoria, Texas, like, you know, we would draw, you know, 150 people, and you know, that town is a cow town, and then, like little places like that, we would play around Texas, and we're drawing, and I think and we started investing in merchandise and all these things, and it just we knew we had something, you know, and I was like, okay, this is special. Let's keep going. Let's see where we can take it, and let's go all the way with it if we can.
What do you think about Upon a Burning Body when you guys were still a local, you know, act? What do you think resonated with the community about the music, about y'all's performance?
I think we had an approach to it that was always like about having fun and like getting people involved, especially at the show, like having sing-alongs and you know, making parts for the crowd as much as it was for us, it was for them. And I think that really sparked something, and seeing people get involved and just have fun, and you know, and just start mainly the chants. And you know who did that for us was a big influence was Dead to Fall. Like seeing
I forgot about Dead to Fall.
they did it so well. Like they just had this thing with the crowd, and every show I would see them, it was just a blast. Like it was like everybody was having a party, you know. And I was just like, man, this is what we need to do. Like this is awesome. Like this vibe, like, you know, because metal was so serious, you know. It was very serious until like we discovered this music, and then we're like, oh man, these bands seem fun. Like this is no longer just like straight death metal where everybody's serious and don't even fucking talk to me. But this is like, yeah, more in your face. And that's, I think, where the hardcore punk aspect came, you know, like the chants and like all that stuff was definitely something that we got from them.
Yeah, I can see how that would definitely set you guys apart from some of the other local acts. You guys had a lot of crowd participation. People felt connected with you guys as a band. And I think and that was actually what I was going to touch on. I remember the first time I saw Upon. It was January 30th, 2009. And I actually have a clip from the first time that I saw you guys. And I'll pull it up here. No joke. There's a clip.
Get out of here.
That's me. In the hoodie going on stage.
Get out of here.
That's me. No joke.
Holy shit, in the hoodie in the back.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's me, bro. Jumping on stage. Danny's like grabbing me right there. That was the first time I ever saw you guys.
Where was this at?
This was at the White Rabbit. I think you guys were playing.
Oh yeah, there's Steve-O in the front. Yeah.
I think you guys were playing with Cattle Decapitation that day. I could be wrong, but I think you guys were I think it was you guys before you accused me opening for Cattle Decapitation.
Damn. That's wild.
And I remember seeing you guys as a local band, and there was definitely something different about you guys compared to the other local bands. You guys were able to really involve the crowd and really involve the whole room in your performance, and I think that's something that made you guys stand out from the other bands. So I agree with you.
Yeah.
So
I think that, and also us being like very social people, like we all went to different high schools, so we all had like that pool of like, you know, getting people involved and being like, hey, we're gonna play here, and everybody would show up and just support. Man, we had so many friends, and it was so amazing. When we did the Genocide EP release, like we did it in a parking lot, and that shit was full to the max, and I was just like, wow, this is amazing. Like that was another eye-opening moment for us. We're like, shit, man, we're doing it, and it's freaking awesome.
Yeah. So let's move on to like when you guys started, you know, working with Sumerian Records. What was that experience like when you first started, you know, speaking with those guys and when they showed interest in you and, you know, what was it like, you know, really looking at that and being like, okay, this is something that we want to do?
Yeah, we had joined up with this, actually it was a contest. It was called Headbang for the Highway. Yeah. So that was kind of the start, the introduction. And we had won the regionals, and we went all the way to LA, and we played our set in front of all them, and we barely got through the set. They ripped down the PA, and all this crazy shit was happening. and we're just kids, man. And we won the contest, and they were like, we can give you all these prizes, which was like a tour and like all these promotional things, or you can work on the band and we'll sign you guys and we'll use these things then when you're signed, so that they actually provide give you something back. And I was like, okay. So we went back and we just worked on our music and tried to elevate our music to where it needed to be. And I remember we drove all the way back to Cali to go record up north in San Francisco, and we did it at Castle Ultimate, which is where All Shall Perish did their records and stuff like that. So we're like, we got to go somewhere legit. Our homie Lech was the one who gave us the word. He was in As Blood Runs Black, the drummer. Yeah, he's the one who he kind of basically like managed us and told us like, hey, if you guys go, you got to record something badass, and then that'll get you your deals like easy. So we did that. We sent it in, and they're like, all right, this is what's up. And then we finally got our contract the next. Oh no, actually we sent it and they ghosted us for a long time. Then we opened up for Vela Maya when they were doing their first record cycle. We opened up for them in Corpus at the House of Rock. I remember this, and we fucking tore the place down. And I remember Mark, the guitarist, in the van with us, and he called Ash. And he's like, you gotta sign these guys, or you're gonna be making a big mistake, or something along those lines. We were fucking young and drunk or whatever. It was something like that.
Yeah.
That I remember that he vouched for us, and literally the next day we got our contract.
That's amazing. This is like social proof to the max. Hard work and dedication and taking risks and going out there and showcasing your skills, your talents can get you somewhere.
Oh yeah.
If you work hard enough. That's an amazing story.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It was wild. And like you said, it was all like a huge like for the first years after we got signed and we were touring, we relied a lot on our families. Like we were broke as shit, like barely making it, and like really struggling, to make it happen. But it became fruitful, and now we're here.
That's amazing. So you said, okay, after you guys started talking with Sumerian, they're like, hey, you got to step it up a little bit when it comes to the actual music. What did you guys do? What steps did you take to take your sound to the level where it needed to be for them to sign you guys?
I think we went a little bit more technical with it. Like our stuff was good, but it sounded kind of dated, and we kind of we started listening to the bands that were doing it then. And we're like, okay, what are we missing here? What do we need to do to kind of modernize our music and make it stand out against all these other bands that are doing it? Because at that point, it was Sumerian had Born of Osiris, Vela Maya, The Faceless,
during the technical era.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, we definitely got to step up our game, and we're capable musicians. We just had to sit down and do it, and we demoed out a bunch of stuff here. And then once we felt the songs were strong enough, we went to get produced in San Fran at Castle Ultimate. So that was and then that after we recorded there, the songs were done. And as soon as we sent that in, it was like, okay, this is it. It's now or never, And that's so we're like, man, maybe it's just not gonna happen. It was months that had passed, and then that's when Mark made the call and we got the contract.
Sweet.
So yeah, we owe him so much. Like I love Mark, and I'll always be indebted to what he did for us that day. And we owe it to him, man. It's crazy how one person vouching for you will make it happen, And I think it's because he was close with Ash, and Ash trusted his word.
I've always been a big fan of his guitar playing.
Oh yeah, he's amazing.
Very technical. I never got the chance to meet him or speak with him, but yeah, man, amazing guitar player. I mean, he's created a whole sound on his own, Mark. Yeah. So you guys get signed to Sumerian. You guys are big boys now. Tell me what it was like playing your first show after being signed by Sumerian.
The first like big tour we got was with Abacab.
Abacab!
Yeah.
I forgot about Abacab.
Yeah, it was man, I can't remember.
Those who don't know what Abacab is, isn't that a cheat? Like it's actually like a cheat code. What game was it? Mortal Kombat cheat code. Yeah. But they were like a deathcore, like metalcore, deathcore band back in the day. Dude, that was one of my favorite bands back in the day. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry.
They were on Sumerian too, and so we jumped on that tour. It was Molotov Solution, Abacab. What's the other bands? I'm trying to remember everybody else. Dr. Acula. us, and there was one more band, and I feel bad for leaving them out. I can't remember who it was, but we did this tour, and it was 2 full months, and it was in the middle of the winter, and it was called the what is it, Black Ice Hot Dice tour. Because that's when we learned how to play CeeLo, and everybody was in the CeeLo. Like, that was the first time I'd ever played it. And we went on tour in the middle of winter, and we hit so much snow. And that was the first time any of us had experienced that, like being in snow. Like,
welcome to the biz.
Like, we're all from Texas, so we're just like, used to the heat, and we had never seen snow in our lives. And we started hitting blizzards left and right, and we're just like, this is fucking cold. And at that time, we had the prison van, so it was like all sheet metal on the inside. It had a plastic seats. We had brought like a wholesale prison van. That
was that the one with the big metal thing in the back?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the whole thing was sheet metal.
Yeah.
The windows didn't roll down. It was crazy.
That was rough.
Yeah,
I remember hanging out with you guys in that band. That was rough.
But that thing was a beast. It was a V10 beast. We did so many tours in that thing. Ran it to the ground. Yeah,
that's the way you got to do it. You got to run them to the ground
all day. Yeah.
Patch that thing up. Get it going. So how was that tour?
That was a great tour, man. That was a whole experience, just being out of state and being able to play for people and enjoy that. Actually, we did a run as a local band before we got signed to Virginia and back, and we traded shows with the band. So that was our first experience going north, but never in the winter, and then we did this tour, and it was like show after show after show, and it was freaking crazy, man. And that was we loved it though. Like, we were all about it, and we just powered through, and freaking at that point we're rocking the suits already, and just
I remember the suits. That was so cool.
Yeah, so we were just raunchy. Raunchy.
I remember you guys got sick of those things, but man, they were so cool. Like, when you guys first came out, because you had like an image. It was really really great way to start out, like out the gate.
Yeah, we definitely turned heads, man. People were like, "What the fuck are these guys? What the fuck's going on?"
So what was the reaction like locally whenever you guys finally signed with Sumerian and you guys are going on tour with all these other bands?
It was great. I think most of our friends supported us, although we did have some haters, obviously, that kind of were talking shit, and we're just like bummed, and we're like, oh man, we thought you all were friends, and shit like that. But whatever. We're here now, and we're stoked about it, and we've been. So I would say when we came back, we had a lot more opportunities as well, like in the local scene. Like, we would only play, we stopped playing so much.
You have to,
yeah, we had to, and
some people don't understand that.
And then we started doing more support gigs here too, opening up for all the big shows. And Jen would always hook us up and give
us. Shout out Jen, dude. Jen is such a cool lady. For those of you guys that don't know Jen, she works with the main production company here who books kind of all the metal hardcore bands with Twin Productions. Jen, shout out to you. She's always so nice to me when she sees me.
Yeah, Jen's amazing.
Great lady. You guys played a lot of shows with them coming up.
Ever since the beginning, man. She's been taking care of us, and we really don't like to go with anybody else. Obviously, some people want to book us, and we've done a couple things, ventured out, but for the most part, it's always Jen.
She knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
she's a professional, man.
Hell yeah.
Let's talk about Red, White, and Green. So you guys, came out with your first record. You went out with your record cycle. Man, when you guys came out with Red, White, and Green, that was a great time. Tell me about how that album came about. Was it a little different, the process?
1,000%, yeah. So this is the thing that I guess a lot of people don't realize either, is like the first album, and I think this is why a lot of people love like a band's first albums too. You know how a lot of people get glued onto that. So up until your first album, it's the culmination of everything you've created before. Mm-hmm. But once you're done recording that, and it's like the best you can do, right? Everything you've worked on for the past however long you've been a band goes into that first album. And then you start touring constantly, and you're expected to write another album, 2 years later and release it. So I think that's where the pressure starts to happen. And then you start to see like, bands kind of fall off. That's the real pressure. That's like, all right, now the heat's on. Like you recorded this, but let's see what you can follow it up with. Mm-hmm. And in that amount of time, while you're touring, while you're, gone 9 months out of the year and doing it. So that was rough. And when we were playing the first album, throughout tour, we realized something. We're like, man, like these songs are very technical. So like people would get down, but they would only get down on like the big parts, you know? So
Yeah.
like we had a lot of blast beats and crazy fast drumming and stuff like that. And where people were just watching us. And then we're like, man, we need to do more of that. We need to kind of slow down and write bigger parts and kind of, you know, do that. So we wrote the demos out for Red, White, and Green, and it was completely different from the first album. And when we showed up to the studio and we demoed it out, and you know, we sent it to the label. We took about a week to demo everything, and we sent it to the label, and they're like, "This is career suicide."
Ooh.
Yeah, they literally said like, "We're not gonna release any of these tracks."
Ooh.
And we're like, "Oh shit, what do we do now?"
What do they not like about it?
It was just a lot slower. It was a lot like more, you know, a lot more breakdowns, and like just album was super fast and technical, and we just went the complete opposite.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like, "No, there's no transition here. You're just fucking jumping off a cliff, and people are going to be confused, and this is literally career suicide." So we didn't think so. We're just like, we go off of experience from being on the road and like seeing what works. So and that's the whole, like, I guess that's a whole dilemma in the industry, is like, you know, you hopefully trust your label, but some of them are disconnected from the actual crowd that's coming to see you and stuff like that. So either way, we have to trash all the songs that we worked on.
Brute.
And we already had booked the studio time. So at that time, our producer, Will Putney, he told us, just go upstairs and I'll set up everything, and you just go write like as much as you can, and we'll just get as much done with the time you got, and then you'll have to come back and we'll have to finish the record. So we did that, and in like a week, we wrote Red, White, and Green.
No way, it was that quick?
Yeah. I think Sin City was the only song that we kept off of those demos that we sent. That was the only one that made it, and we still had to like spice it up, because we kind of snuck it in there, because we're like, man, this is badass. Like, to just sneak it in there. But
that's a fan favorite, no?
Yeah, it is for sure. We still play it to this day, like, you know, all these years later. So we did that. We just smashed out a record in a week, and then we ended up having to record the drums somewhere else, and then we came back and finished the record later, and that's what Red, White, and Green is.
Yeah, I remember me and Thomas, we played y'all's opening show in San Antonio when you guys dropped that record.
Ooh, that's wild.
That was a sick show. Yeah. That was a sick show. That was a great experience. Yeah, man, that album was really good. That was a really good album. I think it was I could tell you guys' songwriting skills just like went up like 3 notches on that record. I think that record really solidified you guys' sound. What do you think?
Yeah, 1000%. It definitely put a stamp that we're here to stay. And you know, after that, it became easier and easier to write and to put out bangers.
Yeah, man, that was an incredible time. I think that kind of music was really starting to hit, you know, more of the masses during that time, and I think you guys released that record at the perfect time.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you, man. It took off, and then after that, when we did the third record, that's when we got on Mayhem, and that was really when we got. What I feel, the fans that come out now are still from that era when we were doing the Red, White, and Green and doing Mayhem Fest, because those fans are just like no other. You know, those are the real metalheads that go, and you know, when you go to a festival like that and you're on a tour like that, those are people that go every year.
Yeah.
And every year before that, it was like a family event, like we're going to Mayhem, and it was cool because our music, that underground kind of metalcore scene was still still rising. And so being able to be on a real metal tour like that helped us so much. And we still have fans that come out from that era, and like, you know, that are like, I first time I saw you was at Mayhem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember we got to perform with you guys at one of those.
Oklahoma?
No, I forgot which one it was.
Dallas.
I think it was Dallas. Yeah, it was Dallas. Yeah, that was insane.
Yeah,
that was good. We were on the kiddie stage, but it was still cool.
Man,
you got to start somewhere, man. Mm-hmm. No, but how was touring on those kind of tours different from like the other tours that you did before that?
It's just a well-oiled machine. Like, that's the biggest tour. Like, Mayhem at that time was the biggest tour, biggest metal tour that was out. You know, Slipknot, Korn, freaking huge. I mean, the first year was Slipknot, Slayer, Motorhead, and Anthrax. The second time we did it after in 2014 was Korn and Avenged and Korn. So, you know, that's that's as big as it gets. And just seeing how that machine ran and like being a part of that, it really opened our eyes. Like, man, this is awesome. And us being able to keep up and like command the crowd at that level, you know, showed us as well. Like, oh man, this is where we belong. Like, we need to be doing this for sure.
Yeah, you guys also did a Warped Tour on that
Yeah,
record
in
cycle
between.
too.
So we did Mayhem 2012, we did Warped Tour 2013, and then Mayhem again 2014. So back to back every summer.
That's when things really started to kind of grow on a national level. Was that record? Can you agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
1,000%. I think that's when we got more diehard fans that were just like, we're here to stay. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I remember hanging out with you guys when you were on Warped Tour. I forgot which stop it was, but you guys had the bus and everything, big bus.
Oh my gosh, that's
yeah,
crazy. We were sharing that with we're sharing that with who was
I remember y'all were sharing a bus with like 2 other bands on Mayhem.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah.
The first Mayhem we did, we basically, the label bought a stage to promote us, Betraying the Martyrs, and Bring Me I the Breather, and we all got to be on that tour. But the catch was we had to build and break down our stage. So not only were we performing in the summer with suits on, but we also had to build the stage every morning at 7 a.m. and then break it down after the show. And we were basically the employees that were in charge of that. That was a catch, and I was like, "Hey, man, I'm down.
You gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta earn your stripes."
I was so down, you know. And all the other people that were working the festival were just like, man, these guys really want it, you know, because they're out here performing and then still breaking it down. And it's cool because people would come and watch, like Slipknot would come to the small stage and watch, and like, you know what I mean? Because they're like, who the fuck are these bands like just playing out here in this little fucking stage?
New bands, yeah.
Yeah. I remember Danny would have to stand on the barricade so he can see over the crowd because the stage was so low to the ground, like, and we're just so short, like everybody would just be towering over us. So he would get up there and like, just so he could see over the crowd and be like, what's up?
That's crazy. That is crazy.
Yeah, it was a wild experience. And, you know, I do feel like we manifested that, you know, when we were in the studio recording Red, White, and Green, they had announced that Slipknot was doing the Mayhem that year. And I was like, and we called our manager and we're like, we need to get on this tour. And he's like, it's not happening. Like, it's booked and there's only 2 stages. And the smallest band on the stage, on any stage, is like Whitechapel and, you know, and all this stuff.
They're huge at the time.
Yeah, they were popping. And so I told the guys, I was like, look, I was just learning about all this manifestation stuff. And I was just like, just imagine that we're playing it. Like, just put it out there. We're just put it in here, the image of us performing there with Slipknot. And then sure enough, like 2-3 weeks later, our manager calls and he's like, you're never going to believe this. Sumerian's buying on the tour and they want you guys to be on it. And I was like, damn.
It works.
I was like, holy shit,
It
man.
works, man. That manifestation stuff is no joke. I used to think it was crazy talk too, but no, it works. And before we wrap up this podcast, I actually have a story that involves Upon and I about manifestation. So
yeah.
I want to go into that before we wrap up, but The World Is My Enemy Now. That's the 3rd record.
Yes.
How was that record different from the other 2 previously?
That one, I think after we did the first Mayhem, we realized that we wanted to take our swing at a bigger metal crowd. Like, we're like, okay, we can kind of shift lanes from the metal core, and we already proved through the first Mayhem that we appeal to like the big boy metal crowd, which is like the more mainstream metal, you know. So we kind of shift lanes and we're like, okay, let's try to write bigger songs with bigger hooks and still keep it heavy, stay true to ourselves, but, you know, try to kind of fit in more with the big boy metal bands and, like, you know, the Lamb of Gods and Slipknot and all this stuff. And so we did, but that was the record, obviously, where all the kidnapping shit happened as well. So it sucks so bad, but I do feel like that whole thing, it more tainted us in the core scene. Like, they took it more personally, because when we did Mayhem that year, it was right before, it was literally on the way to the first date at Mayhem in San Bernardino, and that's when they pitched the idea to us, you know. And this is something that, you know, I've been wanting to get off my chest for years, and I know, like, Danny, and and I'm not gonna throw anybody under the bus, but the idea wasn't ours. It never was our idea. It was brought to us from somebody, and I don't want to put any names out there, but we took the rap for that as a band, and everybody hated us for a long time. And but I do feel like it was more like the metalcore scene that hated us, because when we showed up to the first show in San Bernardino, we crushed it, and it was fucking wild. And I remember we were all bummed because the all this shit that we're getting, and man, calls left and right, and people,
we were
so
concerned,
pissed.
bro. Like, it was like
it wasn't done right. It wasn't done tastefully, and and it was altogether a bad idea. And it could have been cool if it was done right, and it not this kind of shady way, and like it just and that's the way it was brought to us. So we just ran with the punches, and in the end we ended up taking the rap for it, and it sucked. And it's still, to this day, we still get people like,
no way.
Yeah, still to this day. I mean, it's not a lot, like, obviously, like people got over it, but I don't think we've ever really talked about it, and just for that sake, like, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I just want to say that it was not our idea. It was never our idea.
The most important part is everybody was okay.
Yeah.
Nobody was hurt.
Nobody was hurt. Yes.
Maybe some feelings got hurt, and no publicity is bad publicity.
You know what? And in my mind, like, when it was all going down, I was like, "There's metal bands that like do crazy shit, like they kill
metal
people,
bands that actually fuck up and do fucked up
and
shit,
burn churches and do all sorts of shit, and so I'm just like, this it was in bad taste, but we moved on from it, and then we realized that the Mayhem crowd didn't give a fuck. Like, they were just, every show on that second Mayhem 2014 was insane, because we were on an actual stage. Sumerian got an actual full on stage on it, and then Victory had a stage, and so it was insane. That tour was amazing. Just being able to perform on a legit stage every day, I was like, fuck yeah. You
know what? I mean, yeah, I don't think, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. But that's good to clear up the air. Clear up the air on that it wasn't y'all's idea. And
because I mean, we all obviously, the band got bad, got a lot of shit thrown at him, but Danny as well. Like, I felt bad for him, because he was the one that went along and had to actually do everything, and I know he felt bad for it. Like, he still feels bad for it. He's like, man, and it was just, it was rolling so fast. The idea was pitched to us, and we did it the next day, and then the album was out like instantly. And then, you know what? I always thought it was so crazy, because the album is called "The World Is My Enemy Now." And then we did some shit like that, and I was like, did we do it? I started like fucking around with people. I was like, was it on purpose? Like, did we really want to piss everybody off? Because the world is my enemy now, and like shit like that. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So, and I remember it was like, it was bothering us. And then we told Danny, like, you just need to come out like on the record, like with the ropes and shit. And we went and bought ropes, and we put it on his wrist, and he came out, and that was his whole vibe for the tour. And I was like, people fucking loved it, and it was an insane tour for us. So.
You followed up with a great record. Yeah. I know it took me a couple listens to really get into it, but it's a great record.
Thank you.
It's a great record. I think you guys transitioned into that kind of going for bigger sound very well.
And Will helped us develop that sound a lot.
Yeah.
I got to give props to him, because, like I said, we were touring so much at the time. We just had no time to write. So half of it is Will, and half of it is us. Like, Will literally brought us songs to the table and helped us develop that sound. And we couldn't have done it without him, And that's why, to me, that record does sound a little different from our others. Like, you can hear the influence, and I was like, that's badass.
Yeah, man. Where was I when I first heard that record? That first song on that album just freaking smacked, dude. And I could hear it in my car speakers, and it was just
Red Razor.
The mixing on that album was really. Who mixed that album?
That was Will. Yeah, Will Putney, man. He's a G. He's been doing it forever, and he's still crushing the music scene. Knock Loose, like all the stuff that he's doing now is just. Everybody, he's literally become a household name, and I couldn't be more proud of him, man. He's fucking killing it.
Awesome. Let's move on to the next record, Straight from the Barrio.
Yeah, Straight from the Barrio.
This is kind of where you guys really were able to connect with more of a Hispanic crowd.
Oh yeah, 1,000%. I mean, and that's the thing. We thought about it, and we're just like, man, what can we offer that's different? And I was like, well, we're from San Antonio, you know, we grew up in the west side, east side, like, and for those of you listening, those are like the rougher parts of town, you know what I mean? That's how we grew up, like from nothing. And that was something that always stuck with us too, is like we're not a band that had the best equipment or anything like that. Like everything we had was because we worked for it, and we put in the money and the time and everything. Like our parents didn't have a lot of money, so they couldn't buy us badass shit. You know what I mean? So to us, like we had to somehow make that happen in the record, and showcase that, you know, that pride, that Mexican pride, you know what I mean, of where we come from, and where it's all about hard work and like fucking, you know, making shit happen.
So whose idea was it to really start to incorporate like speaking Spanish and like nylon string guitar and things
Oh
like
yeah,
that?
that
To
was all
music?
that was ours. Yeah, that was all us. We talked about it, you know, that we tried to plan it out and really think about it, and I was like, we should really dive in. Well, we had kind of started hinting it with Red, White, and
I remember
Green
that.
and the acoustic, the mariachi songs. I was like, man, why don't we do more of that? Like it's so unique and people love it. And you know, and I do want to revisit that. I mean, in our new song Insatiable, we kind of had that mariachi intro, and like with the trumpets and the horns and all that. So you know, we're always trying to hint at our pride to be, you know, Hispanic, and to be one of the only bands out there still, you know, doing it like that.
And I think that, you know, incorporating those elements into y'all's music really made y'all unique and really branded you guys.
Yeah, oh yeah, 1,000%. And that's our whole thing. It's like Texas and being Hispanic, and Texas also is its own thing. Like, you know, we would travel up north, and people thought we were still riding horses down here. They're like, "You guys have cars?" Like some of our first tours, like we went up north, and they thought we are just, you know, everybody was on saddles. And I was like, "No, bro, we got cars. We got the same cars you do, bro. Toyota Corolla." So,
So was that your last record on Sumerian, or did you guys have one more?
that was the last one.
Yeah, that was a great record. That was a great record. It really, I like the style you guys had, and that's when the suits kind of
That's when we did away with
did
the
away with the
suits.
suits, and you guys kind of went for a real kind of street look that was very fly, very
Yeah,
fly.
yeah. That's when we just decided to ditch it. When it was a festival, we
I
decided.
was there with you guys.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
you were there, dude, and
Yeah.
and we tested it out. We're nervous because we're like, man, we hope that, you know, the suits aren't what, you know, defines us, because we're that's the thing. Like we always felt like the suits were just genuine because it was kind of like a mafia vibe, and none of us are like Italian or have any kind of like, you know, that thing. It was just a gimmick or a theme or whatever for us. So that's why we're like, man, what's us? Like we're more like hood, like more, I don't know, San Antonio street kids, you know what I mean? So that's how we all grew up. So I was like, that fits more in line with what we're doing, you know, and what we feel is more genuine.
Who worked on that record? With you guys?
That was Corey Brenneman.
Corey. Yeah, Corey Brenneman.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the sound was definitely a little different.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure. It was more modern. And
It was more modern. Yeah,
1,000%.
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what we're going for, is like a Hispanic, you know, Mexican and modern metal kind of vibe. How to mix the two, you know, that's the fun part, I think, about writing for us, is like we've always tried to blend our sound with different elements and try to kind of create something new, you know.
Did Chris Moore do a lot of writing on that record?
Yeah, he helped write a lot. Me and him were writing a bunch together, and that's why we work with him now, is because of that record. I mean, I remember because Corey was more of a rock guy. He wrote a lot of rock, like modern rock stuff. So,
He's great at writing hooks.
yeah, he really is. Like he helped us a lot, and we went to him for that reason. But he also knew that we needed to keep the metal riffs, and he knew that Mora was an amazing guitar player, and he could help us in that sense to help produce the metal side of things. So he brought him in, and we just hit it off right away, and we just like went to town, and it was fun, and it was a great experience. Yeah.
Yeah, that's who you worked on Southern Hostility with, the next record.
Next
So
record.
that record, I feel, has a lot more punch to it than any of the other records that you guys have done. What did you guys do differently on Southern Hostility than you did in the past records to really get that sound? Real chuggy, real.
Yeah, I think it was just It was a mix of the stuff we're using, and also getting it mixed with Joseph McQueen, and he does like Bad Wolves and stuff like that. And
I love that band.
he helped produce the record and make it sound. He helped mix the record. Sorry, Chris produced it, and he mixed it, and everything was that had real drums on it as well. So to still have that modern punch was really cool. I thought he crushed it. And it sounded huge.
Oh yeah.
And also
Yeah.
the riffs too. Everything was it was funny. We incorporated a lot more like of the stomp like beats. It wasn't that's the thing. I think the sound is bigger because we kind of simplified the drums a lot. Like there wasn't as many 30-second notes and fast drumming. It was more like stomp, like driving beats, and just like, so it gave it more air to breathe, and it created this big sound.
Yeah, it was very big sounding. That's definitely one that I play in the Mercedes.
And then Southern licks all day. That one we went more Texas with it, and I was like, let's add that twang and more of a Southern feel.
Yeah, you had your most, because I know your flavor.
Yeah,
You had your most flavor on that album for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
And it was very Ruben and very well put together. That's definitely one of my favorite Upon records.
The groove, baby. That's all I care about. Is I was like, we can write whatever the fuck. I just want it to be intense and have a groove to it. And I want you to be able to bang your head and feel it. And when it starts to get too spastic and crazy, I feel like you start to lose people because you're no longer in it. Like you're vibing, and then all of a sudden, like, it's just changing and changing and changing. You can never really fully like be engulfed in the music.
Yeah, that one definitely has some chants to it too.
Oh yeah, that
Yeah.
too. Heck yeah.
So Fury, Fury's definitely kind of a newer sound for you guys. It has a little bit of the taste of Southern Hostility in it, but it's a little bit more. I'm trying to look for how would you describe it? I'm trying to look for the word to describe
I
it.
would say it's in the middle of Southern Hostility and what we're doing like on the first two albums. Like it
It's a
has,
mix,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. We try to bring back some of those elements of like the dissonance and just like the big chants and stuff that we would do back in the day, and and a little bit more heaviness too. But then there's also like really metal songs that have like a Lamb of God, like Southern, like Pantera vibes. So that one kind of is half and half to me. Half of it is Southern Hostility, and half of it is kind of leaning more towards Red, White, and Green, and like The World Is My Enemy Now. So yeah, so it's just a blend, but I love it. Like I feel like we did a good job of mixing up the songs and letting it flow.
I like the mixing on that record too.
Yeah, and that was all Chris. That
Yeah.
that one was all done by Chris, and it's definitely a more modern mix.
Very modern
and punchy.
Yeah, the guitar tones are very modern. I really like that. I listened to that whole record. I was driving home here from Dallas maybe a couple weeks ago, and I took the time to listen to that whole record, and it's definitely very.
Right.
Yeah, but I like it. I like all you guys' music, man. I think it's very, very San Antonio, San
Yeah.
Antonio, and you guys have never strayed away from that, which is great. And you guys have really put San Antonio music on the map with all you guys' bodies of work throughout the years. Which one's your favorite?
My favorite. Oh man, that's a tough one.
Stumped you.
Yeah, well, I know the cheesy thing is to say that Fury is my favorite, but it definitely has to be Fury or Southern Hostility, just because I just fall in love with the evolution of it,
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say like it's a past record, because usually I try to engulf myself in what we're doing, and I love everything we do. I won't put it out if I don't love it. If we don't love it, we don't fuck with it. We just ditch it and move on to something else. So I think I would say it's Fury, and what we're doing now. What we're doing now, to me, is the best evolution, because now we're all the reins are off. We're completely independent, so we're just having fun. And some of the songs that we're gonna release, I know the label would be like, fuck no, you're not gonna drop that song, like, you know what I mean? But just for us at this point, we want to just have fun with it and enjoy what we're doing, and at the same time create just songs that are unique, like, not so serious, and that, some of them are just fun. Like, we're in the process of writing a skate song, about skating, because Danny recently got back into skating, which was his first passion before the band. And Thomas loves to skate, and Tito does inline. So I was like, dude, why don't we write a fucking skate song, like a Tony Hawk fucking straight up thrasher, So, we go into it with ideas like that where it's like, okay, this song's just gonna be fun. Like we don't have to write about, trying to like any kind of like real such meaning behind every song. This is just a fun one. Like let's just get it out and talk about skating.
I feel like that's a great space to be in as an artist.
Oh, it is. It is.
It's liberating.
It really is, because for so long, we've been steered by the labels and like not necessarily like full on, like they gave us freedom, but there's always that kind of like, oh well, this song is this is what I want more of, and this is the vibe, and this is and you hope that they know what they're talking about, but in reality, I think none of us do, because nobody knows what songs are gonna hit, and it's always the least song that you expect, that takes off, and I guarantee you, the one that did the best is not the one not the singles we put out. You know what I mean? So it's always like, oh, okay, so nobody really knows. You think because of what another band did, but you can never compare yourself to anybody, because every member is different, every audience is different. So, what work for them isn't going to work for you.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah,
Very true. Nobody knows. It's kind of like what I do with social media. Like I create hundreds of videos for people that I work with, and you never know which one's the one that's gonna hit.
Pop, right?
Exactly. It's kind of the same thing with music.
It just connects for some reason it connects, right? And it just takes the fuck off, and it's really cool to see, and it's just that's the way we're at it now. I think as long as we love it, then hopefully that'll show itself through the music, and it'll catch on and people will love it as well.
Rock on. This is really cool, man. We kind of talked about like each one of the records that you guys have worked on, and got to do a little bit of deep dive on your feelings and the way me as not only a friend but a fan, how I interpreted those records and how we felt about them. Let's just talk about the music industry, man. How it's changed since like you guys first started putting out music. Because was streaming a big thing when you guys first started putting out music, or was it?
We and that's the crazy thing is, I think us as millennials, we've gone through the age of technology that is just so fast. It's moving so fucking fast. So like, when we first started touring, we were still using MapQuest. We had to pre-print out our directions because none of us had GPS on our phone.
Yeah.
So we had a map book, and then we would get to the city, and we would call the promoter and be like, "Where's the show at? Like, come and meet us and take us there, or tell us how to get there from this point." And so we've seen that whole evolution of everybody needs to have 10 boxes of CDs on tour to now we bring none. So it's like we've sat on the same box of CDs for like, 2 tours, and everybody's like, well, what am I going to do with this? I don't even have a CD player in my car.
Yeah. That's more like a novelty.
Yeah, exactly.
So how has that changed, like, as far as being able to bring in revenue from the actual music itself? Because the music itself isn't really the product anymore.
No, it's weird. It's a double-edged sword, because if you can become big enough to make that revenue, it's pretty much steady, because your listeners have an easy way to access millions of songs every day. And if you get on any other playlist, or a gym playlist that they have, that means they're gonna listen to you every single day. So that's awesome. It's accessible in that sense, whereas if they had a CD and it broke or scratched or whatever, they may not go buy another one, or so it's kind of, I like it because it's accessible to the whole world instantly, which is nice. And you get that exposure, but the payouts are very minimal unless you're a band that's been doing it for a long time. And luckily we're successful enough to be able to survive off of our music, which is amazing. But
I'm gonna ask you a question that's a little bit controversial. Do you feel like musicians are getting paid what they deserve from their music today?
Oh, no, not at all. No, any artist. I think art in general is so devalued. I don't know, like, I know in the painting world it's different. Like, people can make value out of nothing, and who gets to choose and decide that. But I think art is so devalued for some reason, and it's crazy to me, like, because everybody needs it and everybody loves it, but they're not willing to pay for it, and they're not really. I don't know if they're not willing, or it's just they don't know where or how, or you know what I mean. And I guess that's our job to make it prevalent of like, oh, you want to support us, this is how you do it, and I think when people talk about streaming and all these things, like I see so many people that are like blindsided, like, oh
Yeah.
shit, I didn't know that you guys are getting pennies for thousands of plays, and where it's like, oh, if somebody brought 1,000 CDs, like, that's a lot of money. But so it is, I think art, all art across the board is just devalued for some reason, but it's crazy because everybody needs it.
And it takes a lot of time and work to create.
Oh,
too.
1,000%.
And so that being said, what do you think it's like for newer artists that aren't coming up in that age where like people were still buying physical copies? I think you're right about the double-edged sword thing. So now the young artists can get out there with things like social media and stuff like that. But how are they going to be able to monetize their art these days when they're getting paid pennies per listen?
Yeah, it takes a lot of investment first, and then once you invest in yourself, I think that's the main way you're going to get out there is by putting that backing up your product, and that's something that I learned from Slipknot. Like on their first album, they invested so much money into that recording and going, to Ross Robinson, right? That's who did their first album, and that just goes to show you, like, you can get a return on your investment that is 1,000-fold, but you just have to believe in yourself and be willing to put all your chips on the table, and just be like, hey, like, this is it, I'm going for it, and I'm gonna go and try to figure out how to crack the system, because it is a system, and I think there's ways to work it, and if you're smart, you're looking for the next thing, and you're looking for the next way and the next wave, and trying to ride that and get out there.
Keeping a group of guys together is difficult.
Oh, 1,000%.
It's not easy.
It's like having 4 girlfriends. It's like that's literally what it's like. You're dealing with all these emotions and ideas, and that's one thing I always preach to bands. It's like, have meetings and talk with each other,
Yeah.
and make sure all of you are on the same exact page. Like, everybody wants the same thing. Everybody, it has the same goals, and make sure it stays like that. Because as soon as somebody starts to stray off, you might as well find somebody else, or somebody isn't on the same viewpoint as you, then there's a problem, and it's gonna come out at some point, and you don't want it to come out when you're on the rise and you're popping off. You don't want all those issues to come out then. So it's tough. It's really tough. We've gone through so many members ourselves, just because things just, lives, people change, and they don't want what they don't want it anymore, or they get into the industry and they think they want to be out there doing it, but then they don't realize how rough it is. And like, okay, you're sleeping in the middle of a crack, in the crack of a bench, and you're trying to make ends meet, and you're eating McDonald's every day, and sure, you're on stage and you're playing badass shows, but on the backside it's fucking rough, and it's it's hard, and I think a lot of people don't realize that too. They get into it and they just think it's all about being a rock star, and it's like, fuck no.
And it's so not. And not only is it hard to keep a group of guys together, but the life of a musician is so taxing.
Oh, yeah.
It's so difficult, and these artists are busting their ass, traveling from city to city, and some of them aren't even getting paid. They're just doing it to get their name out there. And I just wish there was a way for young musicians who are really out there grinding. Number one, you got to work on your talent, right? You got to be, or if you're not talented, you got to really work on your skill of songwriting, which there's plenty of artists out there who are not talented that work really hard. Ed Sheeran was one of them. He wasn't talented when he first started.
Oh, I know. I just figured that out. I didn't know that, and I kind of did a deep dive, and I was like, holy shit, he was horrible when he first started.
Yeah, he did not have natural talent.
And he worked on it, and that's proof. That's proof, though.
That's proof that the skill can be acquired. But these guys that are working this hard on it, I just wonder if there's a proven system out there for them to generate revenue to be able to keep going and keep their passions alive. If somebody could lay that out for new artists, I mean...
Yeah. Well, I think some of it is so as easy as, like, all the bullshit that you spend money on, like, it can be... And that's what I realized, it's like, man, sometimes you don't need that beer or that whatever the fuck you're spending your money on. and you can invest it into your talent. And I think that's the mindset, is you have to realize what you got, and that you got to realize that if you want to go for it, it takes that investment and that sacrifice. Really, that's what it is that sacrifice, you know.
But what is the product? Is it ticket sales? Is it merchandise? Is it meet and greet? Like, what is
It's you. It's you. It's you. I think that's what the product is. Is you're selling yourself as a work of all in its own. Your persona, you know, your art. It's everything, you know. So,
Yeah.
and I think that's why it's so taxing. Is because it's not only physically taxing, but it's mentally taxing. Because
Oh, yeah.
you want to see your art succeed, and you get the ridicule, and there's always people hating on you, and there's always, you know, people. It's just all over the place. So, and you can get in your own head about it, or you can just keep creating and just, you know, just try not to let that bring you down, and try not to get hyper focused on the negative, because that's always going to be there. There's always going to be people to ridicule you and hate your music. So, you know, it's easy to hate. It's so easy to hate, you know. So
How have you guys been able to stay together for this long? You know.
well, I think it's me and Danny. You know, we're the heart and soul of the band, and you know, and Tito's been in the band already for over 6 years. I want to say it's 8 years already. So he's definitely a part of the family. You know, it's hard because he's lived so far, so he doesn't really like. We don't get to like hang out and stuff as much as like me and Danny do, like when we're off and
Yeah.
doing shit. But he's definitely, you know, a part of our family now, and he's a brother to us, and now having Thomas in the band even more so, you know. So
He's a literal brother.
he's a little brother, yeah. So it's cool. It's three brothers and Tito, and we're all just been rocking it, and I think that's the thing is we just try not to try to have fun, and we just try to talk and communicate. I think that's the thing about us, is we communicate very well.
That's so important in anything.
Yeah,
that
we
you
don't
do.
hold grudges. Like we always apologize to each other when shit goes wrong, and we know we're out of line, and we all have a good head in that sense, where we know when we fucked up, and we know when we said something and crossed the line, and we're able to apologize.
It's important.
And that it takes a real like legit person to do that, to admit that they're wrong. And you know, we've been in the band with people that don't want to, and you know, shit that like just issues after issues, and it's like, man, it's just not worth it, you know. So we've had to let go of people, and for different reasons, and it's just it's crazy, man. It's a really hard thing, emotionally taxing. It's just you know, in all sense, but we've learned from every instance, and you know, now we're here, and we're a well-oiled machine, and we're just going now.
Yeah. How are you personally able to manage, you know, time away from home, time away from family, time away from your now wife, your daughter, and still be able to maintain those personal relationships while on the road and working on Upon a Burning Body? How are you able to do that?
It's hard. I mean, you just got to remember why you're doing it. And, you know, I think for me, it's always been like, I want to create art, but I also want to be able to survive, and to, you know, thrive, and show my family that I did it, that, you know, I pursued my dream, and I accomplished that, and I'm living proof that anybody can do it. And I think that's what keeps me going, is showing my daughter and my wife that, hey, like, and they support me 1,000-fold, and I love that, like that, you know, I don't have to worry about somebody getting on my case and being upset because I'm gone, because they understand what I'm doing, and they think it's awesome. So,
That's really important.
yeah, 1,000%.
And anything to have a strong support system. Yeah, if people aren't on your corner, man, you can't have them around.
No, and that's the thing. Like my friends now, are, you know, my close friends, I could count on my hand, you know, and I think that's the thing too. Is it's crazy because I say I have a road family, and I have my home family and friends and stuff like that, and it's awesome that we've created friends that we've had for years and years and years since we started the band, and they still come out to shows, and they're like family too, like, you know. So I consider all those people out there very important, and I try as much as I can to communicate, and like to let them know I'm still here, like whether it be on social media or through text or in some way. I'm just like, hey bro, you know, I see them accomplish something, and I'm rooting for them. I root for all my homies. Like,
You do.
yeah.
You've even sent me a couple messages like, I see you, dog.
Yeah, I'm proud, man. I'm so proud. And, you know, and something that I learned recently that I want to share with everybody is that you know, eulogies. You know, eulogies are usually saved for when people die, but I think people should get more used to giving a person their eulogy when they're alive.
Ooh.
Yeah. Yeah. So that
Ooh.
yeah, yeah. And I guess why wait? Why do you wait? Why wait to honor somebody and tell them how much they've impacted your life until they're dead? Like that's fucked up, you know? Like tell them now while they're alive and let that be their fuel and like and get them pumped and be like, hey, like, you know, like you for instance, like, man, I'm so proud of everything you've accomplished because
Thank you, bro.
and in this short amount of time it's just like amazing, you know, all the things you've done, and I look up to that. Like I'm as personally,
Thank you.
I really look up to that for sure.
Well, I'm gonna tell you a story. So there's, and it involves you when it comes to accomplishments, and I appreciate the kind words, you know. And there's a story that you and Danny both taught me, and there's a reason why every time I get a chance to either go out to a show, I try to take care of you guys, whether it's, you know, hey, I got you on catering, or hey, I'm coming by, let's hang out. And it goes back to when I was 16 years old. So when I was 16 years old, I had a friend. I won't say his name. He's a good person. And I told him this. This was my biggest dream at 16 years old. I had a dream. And I'm going to try not to get emotional here. But I told him, man, my biggest dream in life, and it was when I first started getting serious about playing guitar, is just to play one show, man. One show where the entire crowd is packed and people are jumping up and down to the music. That's all I want. Like, if I can do just that once, my life will be complete. And his words to me were, that will never, ever happen for you in your entire life. He told me that. He said, you might as well give it up right now. He said that to me. He's like, that's just a dream, bro. He's like, that's something that we dream about in high school as musicians, and it'll never, ever happen. Fast forward 2 years. I'm playing in a band with Josh and Chad. Do you remember Josh?
Yes.
Josh Davalos.
1,000%.
You guys had just signed to Sumerian. And I don't know if it was the first tour or it was a headlining show you guys were doing in Corpus. And there was a battle of the bands to open for you guys. And we're like, okay, well, we're gonna do the battle of the bands, kind of like the headbang to the highway thing.
Yeah.
And we played the battle of the bands, and Danny and Chris chose us to open for you guys in Corpus. And I have a clip here of the exact moment when that dream that I had that he said would never ever happen happened.
Oh my God. Hell yeah. There it is.
Right there.
Right there.
And that was at the House of Rock in Corpus Christi. There's me with my little bow tie. My little that was the first day we actually got to meet and really hang out.
I remember that, dude. Fuck yeah. Dude.
But yeah, we opened for you guys in the House of Rock in Corpus.
Holy shit. What year was that?
This was, I don't know what year it was. It was uploaded 12 years ago.
Wow.
But you guys did that for me. And I'll be forever grateful for that.
Thanks, man. That's what's up. That's badass, dude. And
Yes.
That's what I told the guys, man. I was like, man, we have, and you know, that's crazy because that's when we change lanes too, like with our music, is when we realize how much we can impact people like that.
Yeah.
We're like, we can, it's like, we're like such a party band when we first started. And then we're like, okay.
Yeah, we're still partying then.
Yeah, I know. We're such a fucking party
Yeah.
band. And we switched lanes and we're like, because as we got older, you know, we had kids and stuff. And we're like, man, what kind of legacy do we want to leave behind? Like, do we want to just be known as this fad, like party band? Or are we going to, you know, in some of the more emotional songs, people that gravitated and they're like, you know, this helped me through so much. And like stories like yours, it's like, man, we have the ability to change lives. And that is like a superpower to me. And I'm just like, we need to really, you know, hone in on that and try to do it as much as possible because it's freaking awesome. It's amazing.
Absolutely. Through all the hard work that you guys did and through all the accomplishments that you guys had, you guys taught me that anything you dream is possible.
Yeah.
And it's impacted me in a major way. Like in everything, ever since that day when you guys did that, everything that I've ever dreamed about in my life has come true.
Yes.
Everything. So I can't wait to set more goals. I can't wait for you guys to have so much more accomplishments in you guys' career. And yeah, dude, you guys are impacting people in a major way.
Thank you, man. That means a lot, and I love that story. That's so cool. I remember your tie, and
You remember the bow
that's why I
tie?
remember that is when we met and we're chilling,
Yeah.
and yeah, dude, I was like, holy shit, look at this dude rocking the tie and
Yeah, I
shit. I
had
was
to
like,
rock the bow
hell
tie.
yeah,
I was
dude.
strange. I was a little strange.
love
but you
it.
know what? I did it. I did it. And
Yeah, you put yourself out there, man.
Yeah.
That's it, and you fucking did it, man. And that's badass, you know.
Yeah.
And as much as you'd like to thank us, that's through your hard work, you know, and you
Thank
being a
you.
badass guitar player
Thank
and being
you.
up there, dude. And
Thank
you're
you.
amazing. You're a fucking amazing musician.
And what's crazy is like, even though my friend had told me that, I've gotten to do it multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times. I've played tons of shows. With you guys, I've done it several times with you guys. Opened up for some of the bands that I've listened to all my life, and yeah, anything's possible. Anything is possible.
Yeah, yeah. It's really your mind is the biggest, you know, the biggest thing that'll hold you back is you thinking negatively and thinking that you can't do it. That's really the only thing holding you back is your
Yeah.
mindset, you know. So all you guys striving to be musicians and wanting to do it, like don't give up because as many people will tell you, I mean, I had people telling me cuz this is a crazy story. When I was we got our deal when I was a senior in high school. And I was actually going to school to do aviation mechanics.
Really?
I was going to be an aircraft mechanic. And so in between my junior and senior year, I did an internship at Boeing. And where I was already going to school for mechanic, it was like a program that they had at my school. And I did an internship. And they're like, we want to hire you. So as soon as you're done with your senior year, come back and you got a job here. And that's a career, you know, like as an aircraft mechanic at Boeing, one of the biggest companies
Oh
here.
yeah, and I bet you didn't know this. I'm an aviation fanatic, by the
There
way.
you go.
I love
I
aviation.
didn't know that.
Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. So I got to take apart in the school. I got to take apart a helicopter, Allison 250,
that's
completely
so cool.
apart and put it back together and make sure it
You
turned out.
overhauled the whole thing.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
it's so cool.
So when I was in high school, my senior year is when we got the deal, and you know, a lot of people were obviously like my family was like, what are you doing? Like, you're going to give up this career like that's already on your plate for this maybe, you know, thing.
Give it up.
Yeah, dude. But I was just so passionate about music. I was
Yeah.
like, and I thought about it. And I was like, man, I can't see myself cranking wrenches like for the rest of my life and
No.
doing this shit. Like, I was like, I see myself on stage. And that's what I'm meant to do, and I set out to do it, you know, and that's all. That was my main focus, is to make this work and to make it, you know, make it happen for me, and you know, then it all paid off, man, and now we're here. You know?
Yeah, dude, you guys are massively successful. Dude, you got to play the national anthem at the Texas game the other day.
Holy moly,
That's
dude.
so cool.
Yeah, man, and that's what I'm saying. The opportunities are still coming, and you know, we're nowhere near being over and you know, stopping. This is a freight train. It's just going.
What's the future like for Pond?
I mean, just this, man. We're fully independent. We're taking the reins and we're just running with it. And you know, so I think it was with everything that we've gone through, we just love where we're at now, and being able to have the freedom and like, hey, yeah, I got a song here. I'm gonna drop it tomorrow if I want. You know, we don't have to follow any agendas or any calendar or anything like that. Like, it's just us and our fans, and that's the way it should be. You know what I mean? And they we give them the respect that they deserve, and it's mutual. You know, they support us in everything we do.
Awesome. I just saw you guys a couple weeks ago at the Haltom Theater in Fort Worth. Awesome show.
Yeah, that was a badass
You guys
show.
are still pulling hundreds of kids, dude.
Yep.
Hundreds of kids at these shows. And it's amazing to see you guys still continue. How long do you think you can do this for, realistically?
I'm gonna do it till I can't anymore. You know, as long as until you know, either my body gives out or people stop showing up. You know, and I think we'll know when it's time to hang it up. Like when we show up to a place and you know it just starts dwindling, and you know we'll know. Okay, I think it's time to hang it up, or you know. But I think until that point comes, we're just gonna keep going, man. And I see this as a lifelong endeavor. You know, never ending, because music is never ending. You know, we always have stuff to write about, and you know, as long as these fingers keep working, I'm good.
You guys are going on tour.
Yes, doing a big tour. Yes,
Yeah.
yes. We're headlining, and I'm super stoked about that one. Yeah, this year actually the opportunities that are coming in, you know, we kind of felt we're kind of getting in this headspace. We're like, man, we're considered like an old metalcore band, and like, you know, I feel like with all the new music that's coming out, it was hard for us to, you know, kind of get opportunities, and like some of the better opportunities are getting given to all the younger bands.
Yeah.
So we're kind of trying to find our spot, but now going independent and starting to release new music, and that hype building up. This year, actually, we got some amazing opportunities down the pipeline, and I'm just like, all right, we're not dead yet. I was like, you know, we've been around, and it's so crazy because we've stuck around so long that we've seen bands go and then come back like 10 years later, and I'm just like, holy shit, dude, we're still going. Like, I'm just like, we're not stopping. So, you know, and
awesome.
and this year, seeing these opportunities come in with our, you know, we do have a booking agent. That's the only team member we have is our booking agent, Dan DeFonts at TKO. He's the man. And yeah, the opportunities are coming, and I see like still growth, and you know, we still have a following, and we still have people that want us. So I'm fucking stoked.
That's fucking amazing, man. Any last comments, words, anything?
No, just go check us out. If you don't know who we are, you know, go check out our music. You know, Upon a Burning Body. I think we have music for everyone, every walk of life, and I think you could find something that you'll enjoy if you listen to metal or heavy music, or even if you don't. We have some acoustic jams and some softer stuff too. I mean, we've been writing music for a long time, so you know, I encourage you to go check us out, and you know, go to a show if you can, and come see it in person, because that's where it's at.
Guys, if you haven't gone to an Upon a Burning Body show ever, you are missing an intense wave of freaking hard, heavy music that is just an experience. You have to go see these guys live. They always crush it. And like we said, they're going on tour here in March.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sure you can find the dates on their Facebook page. If you're in those areas, man, you know, go check out the show and go, because you're missing out. If you're not going, you're missing out on a great time. And I think it's real important that you check these guys out. So Ruben, man, thanks so much for coming to my studio and talking a little Sheik with me, man.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
It's been my pleasure, man. I really enjoyed this.
Awesome. Thank you.